All right, all right, all right. It is day 19 of 28 days of self love, and we're back at it again tonight. Before we jump into our content, I'd like to welcome all of you who are tuning in for the very first time. And for those of you who have watched previous nights, welcome back. Hopefully, you've gotten something out at least one night that we've been sharing. Before we go into our content, just as we have in the past, we're going to start off with the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number, and that number is 1 800 273 8255. Again, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number is 1 800 273 8255. If no one's told you, let me be the first to tell you today that you're necessary, you are needed, and you are loved. You're important as well. So, on tonight, we're going to jump right into day 19, which is take time for quiet. Again, day 19 is take time for quiet. There's a lot of noise that's going on in the world, and it can seem as if it'll never stop. So, not only is there a lot of noise in the world, but even in our individual lives, there are a lot of things that we have going on as well. And it seems like there's so much going on with us individually with all the hats we wear. We wear so many hats at times that it seems that there's no time for anything else. So if you can hear me on tonight, give me a heart or a thumbs up so I know that I'm live and that you can hear me. All right. So it's important for us to take the time to stop and sit in silence, even if the world doesn't. And tonight, and moving forward, this is how we're going to show ourselves some love by taking time for quiet. Taking time for quiet. Now, this is a practice that comes easy for some people, and those people that tend to be introvert or have introverted tendencies, like myself, we find taking time for quiet as something that's, easy for us to do. All right. Hey, Felicia. So glad you're in here on tonight. But we also know that people with extroverted tendencies can find this difficult to be able to sit still in quietness. Now, taking time for quiet, like I said, can be difficult for some, but not for others. But it's important for each and every one of us to take time to sit in quiet. On Saturdays, I normally take time for me, and it's called Susan Sacred Saturdays. And that's a time where I wind down from the week and recuperate in silence for most of the day. I don't have to have on television or I don't have to have on any noise. I just kind of sit in quiet. Now, I know you're probably saying there is no way that you can commit to a day, but I encourage you to commit to sitting in silence at least 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day where you can just turn it all off. But before I go into the suggestions on how to do it, let's talk about why it's important to take time for silence. And if you take time for silence already, go ahead and drop it in the chat and say, yes, it's important. Or if you don't, drop it in the chat and say, yes, I need to. All right, let's do this. So silence offers us opportunities for self-reflection, daydreaming, which activates multiple parts of our brain. It gives us time to turn down the inner noise, and it increases awareness of what matters most and helps us to be in the moment. Like I said, with everything that's going on in the world, it just seems as if we're moving from one thing to the next. We're not really taking time to even enjoy the moment. Like for those of us who work and we're moms or dads or, working in ministry, all the things that we are taking care of, it just seems like we're moving from one thing to the next and not really just being in the moment or sitting in the moment. So taking time for quiet, it helps to increase our creativity. So that's another reason why we can sit in silence. And by being still and silent, it also reduces stress. So we talked about reducing stress earlier in the week. It also lowers our blood pressure. So taking time and sitting in silence can help to lower that blood pressure. So if you're one of the ones who have a challenge in that area, try, sitting still, calming down a little bit, slowing down. It also decreases your heart rate. And then it also helps you to steady your breathing. So sitting still and taking time for quiet, it helps to steady your breathing, and it also reduces muscle tension, and it increases our focus and our cognition. Now, I've told you some of the benefits of sitting in silence or taking time for silence. Now, I also wanted to just kind of give you suggestions on how this works. Like I told you, for people with extroverted tendencies, you might find it hard to be able to sit still for 5 minutes a day. But I want to give you a couple of tips. First, you don't have to have a special place to do this. Like, I know in the morning time you get up, you're probably making coffee. The time it takes to make coffee, you definitely can take that time for quiet. A lot of us, we spend time in the bathroom. Take an extra 5 minutes. You're there alone, so you can go ahead and take that time as well. All right, so Felicia, you said it's iffy. Most of the time, I will make time for quiet time when I'm focused, when I'm forced to, right? And that's the thing. We don't want to be forced to. We get to the point to where we're burned out and not feeling our best. Very busy day. I need to purposely and mindfully give myself more quiet time without the force. I definitely agree with that. And if we don't give ourselves that quiet time, sometimes our body will force us into getting that quiet time. So it's important for us. Thank you so much for that comment, Felicia. It's important for us to be intentional in doing this. So what we can do, and like I said, you don't have to have a perfect place to do this. Some people do have their spots where they go sit in silent, and that's great. But I don't want that to be our excuse why we can't do it. Like for me, I of course use time in the back when I'm in the bathroom. I'll stay in there an extra 5 minutes or extra 10 minutes. For me, I can sit in quiet for a long time. Or when I get home from a long day, I'm sitting in my truck in the driveway, and I take that time before I come in the house to sit in silence. Like nothing is on, it's just sitting in silence, reflecting on the day and releasing it so I can come in and be with my family. And all of that happened within the day, I've already dropped it, I've let it go, and now I'm coming in not fresh, but a little less weighted than I could actually come in the house with. So it's important for us to be able to take the time to do that. So here's some suggestions for those of you who might find this hard. Find a place, or wherever you are, just stop and close your eyes. Close your eyes. Just take 5 minutes doing this. Close your eyes and concentrate on breathing. Just concentrate. Just start off. Just concentrate on how you're breathing. Before I started being intentional with this, like Felicia, you said, it's time for us to be intentional. I found myself, even before wearing my Apple Watch, I found myself and caught myself not breathing like I'm supposed to, because I'm all caught up on what I'm doing next, what I'm doing later on in the evening, what I'm doing tomorrow. And I'm just going. And even before I started wearing the Apple Watch, who tells us, hey, take time to breathe, or take a moment to breathe, or you need to breathe, I could feel it in my body that I wasn't taking deep breaths. So in my quiet time, I would concentrate on just breathing, just taking the breaths in, letting the breaths out, like deep breathing, not just that surface breathing that we do as we go throughout the day. So close your eyes, concentrate on your breathing. Listen to the sounds that are around you. Like when you really sit and take time for quiet, you can hear the different noises that are around you. So what I typically do sometimes is try to count to see how many different noises that I hear. I can hear, because we live close to the train tracks, I can hear the trains that are going by. We also live close to the airport, so I can hear the planes that are flying overhead. I can hear the birds chirping. I can hear the dogs barking. I can hear the AC or the heater when it comes on. I can hear those different types of sounds. But when we are always going throughout our day in all the chaos, we miss those sounds. And so just imagine how much more we're missing when we're not being in the moment and being intentional. So not only do I close my eyes, I concentrate on my breathing, I also listen to the sounds that are around me. I also ask myself, okay, well, how do I feel? Like, what am I feeling? How's the temperature around me? Am I cold or is it warm? Just all the feelings. So, how am I feeling? And I begin to ask myself, how am I feeling? Like, what am I hearing as well? Not the sounds that are on the outside, but the sounds that are in the inside. Like, what am I hearing myself say as well? And then, lastly, like, when seriously, I ask myself, okay, well, what do I smell? Like, even with my eyes closed, taking a sniff, like, what do I smell? And my favorite scent is coconut. So, even if I go into that moment of silence and I put on my coconut lotion, that's the thing that I smell. And it just brings me down to a place that I'm less stressed, less anxiety, all those things. So, whatever it is that might help you, maybe lighting a candle might be your thing. That's great as well. But you really don't have to stop to do all of that. Just make sure you start somewhere. Take time for you, take time for quiet. Use this as an activity to show yourself some love tonight and moving forward. Those are my tips for tonight. Hopefully, you got some out of it, something out of it. If you did, drop me a comment in the chat. Also, if you're catching me on the replay, let me know that you're catching me on the replay. We are winding down. I think tomorrow would be on night 20, on day 20 of 28 days. So come back and see me on tomorrow, and hopefully you can take away something that will be of benefit to you. If no one has told you yet today, let me be the first to say, I love you. You are necessary, you are important, and you are loved. Have a great night.